Let us meditate for a few moments and pray for the welfare of all beings. Shanti. Om Stapakaya Dharmasya Sarvadharma Swarupine Stapakaya Dharmasya Sarvadharma Swarupine Avadara Varishtaya Ramakrishna Te Namah Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Mritangamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us offer our salutations to Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of all religions, the Supreme God incarnate. Let us pray to Him to remove all our ignorance, to bestow grace so that we can achieve life's fulfillment, namely realizing God in this very life. Sri Ramakrishna was giving instructions to Pandit Shashadhar. This meeting was really extraordinary. Pandit Shashadhar was a great scholar, but very sincere. Man of integrity. Sri Ramakrishna was greatly impressed by him. So, he himself went to meet him to give right direction to his life's journey. The life's journey is not simply ending up as a Pandit or as some professionalist. No. Life's journey should take one to the supreme abode of God. To reach that supreme abode, that is the life's fulfillment. If that is not achieved, that means your life has not been used properly in that direction. That means you need to take some more life. Be prepared to come again. Until and unless you direct your energy in that direction, you have to keep on coming. Keep on passing through the burning suffering. And Sri Ramakrishna, the great spiritual master, he is giving instruction to Pandit Shashadhar. Through him, we are fortunate to get all those instructions. Spirituality means practical life. Spirituality means love of God. So, he was telling Shashadhar, well, the bliss of devotees in the worship of God is called Bhajanananda. Worldly people keep themselves engrossed in the joy of sensuous objects, keep themselves engrossed in the joy of lust and gold. Their whole life is lost in that mess. They make a mess of it. So Sri Ramakrishna is pinpointing how we should direct our mind in proper direction. Bhajanananda, the bliss that you get through worship. Bhajana means worship. Ananda means bliss. If your whole mind is absorbed in the worship of God, who is your own beloved, the result would be bliss. Sri Ramakrishna explained it. What do you get through worship? Through worship, you receive the grace of God, which is very valuable. One get that grace, his vision is immanent. Then you enjoy Brahmananda, the bliss of Brahman. Bhajanananda leading to Brahmananda. By totally absorbing yourself in worship, you will be overwhelmed by the spiritual current. Your whole mind gets thoroughly purified, thoroughly cleansed. When you feel your mind is thoroughly purified, you feel immense peace. You feel immense joy. In that state of mind, meditation becomes automatic. As Sri Ramakrishna said, you will be blessed by God's grace, and then you will enjoy Brahmananda. Don't think worship has no value. Don't think worship is mechanical. That way I should say even your meditation is mechanical. You may be simply sitting here. Your mind is dancing somewhere else. You may be working in the temple, but your mind may think all sorts of dirty things. So, if that is the state of your mind, then whatever you do is mechanical only. That means you have to do consciously. You must be aware of what you are doing. You must be aware of what you are thinking. And you must be cautious, as I said in my last class. We are so careless. We are extremely careless, I should say. In the matter of spirituality, it must be opposite. You must be extremely cautious. Not 95% cautious. No. 100%. That's very, very important. To guard your wretched mind. Mind is called wretched because it runs to unwanted places. It hankers after unreal things. It harbors jealousy, hatred, anger and so on. It makes your life miserable. Not only that, it ruins your life. So, it is important that you must be completely aware of the function of your mind, how your mind is behaving. That's very important. So, if you do worship wholeheartedly, why not God come to you? God runs after you. It is not you running to God. God is running towards you. That you will understand if you worship God wholeheartedly, with full awareness, with extreme cautious. So, that's the beauty of worship. Don't simply pass a sweeping remark, oh, worship. It only shows a person is simply childish. He has not learned the alphabets of spiritual life. That's my reading. Worship is very, 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 very important step in your spiritual journey. One day, Sri Ramakrishna went to the temple to bow down to Divine Mother. As soon as he looked into Divine Mother in the temple, immediately he went into ecstasy. Instant. What provoked him? The beauty of Kali. The beauty of the Divine Mother was very much enhanced by the most beautiful flower garland that adorned her. His spiritual current was provoked to the maximum degree just by looking into that fantastic garland that adorned the Divine Mother. He was shedding tears of joy. Tears of joy. That is Bhajanananda. He asked immediately, who made this garland? Who made this garland? Somebody said to him that that garland was prepared by Holy Mother. Sri Ramakrishna was thrilled. He said, go and bring her immediately. Bring her as soon as possible. She came. When Mother came to the temple, she saw Sri Ramakrishna singing in great joy. His voice trembled with love and devotion. That is the experience of Bhajanananda. How that garland was made. It was a big garland made up of 7 strands with some jasmine and red flowers in between, properly arranged. Then Holy Mother had soaked that garland in water in a stone bowl, and the buds quickly turned into full blossoms. That garland was put on the Divine Mother. It was looking so beautiful. Sri Ramakrishna expressed his full satisfaction. Just by seeing the garland, he went into ecstasy. It is not simply throwing the flower. Out of love and devotion you do. You offer it, God accepts it. And He gives you a great reward, the reward of joy. So, don't neglect worship. Have clear understanding of the concept of worship. Don't jump to making sweeping remarks. Worship helps greatly in unfolding your spiritual potential. In worship, there is a special kind of relationship between the embodied being and God. We are all embodied beings. We have not realized the truth. We are suffering in this world. We are passing through all sorts of troubles, difficult situations, crises. So, you must have a definite relationship between yourself and God. Duality, it helps greatly. Though I am that supreme Brahman, part and parcel of that Brahman, no doubt it is true. But till you realize that state, you have to pass through different stages of spiritual evolution. As long as you are aware of the multiplicity, as long as you are in the realm of Maya, it is very safe to rely upon God, the controller of the whole universe, the indwelling spirit of all beings. There are important characteristics in worship. If you know the concept clearly, then you know the immense value of worship. Then it is no more mechanical. The idea of thinking that way comes because that thinking is only cheating you. It's a wrong thinking which should be thrown out. Now let us study the important characteristics of worship. The first is sacrifice. There can be no worship without sacrifice. Sacrifice is not just giving. It implies two things. One is giving without expectation of return. Whatever you offer in worship must be for love and not for barter. Secondly, sacrifice means self-denial. It must entail some loss to the ego. It is not what we offer that matters, but how we offer it. Every step is important. Every step you have to follow carefully, with love and devotion, with great reverence. Lord Krishna says in the Gita, chapter 9, verse number 26, Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhakti upaghratam ashnami prayatatmanaha. Whosoever offers me with devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, that I accept. The pious offering of the pure in heart. What does the Lord want from you? The Lord, endowed with infinite powers and splendors, asks only love from His devotees. And in return, rewards them with imperishable joy. That is Bhajanananda. Swami Vivekananda, the great disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, he advocated the ideal of service. Service to the poor. Serve the poor and downtrodden. The act of serving becomes spiritual discipline. The service becomes worship of God. From a spiritual point of view, the basic idea behind sacrifice is selflessness. The greatest obstacle to spiritual progress is selfishness. So, giving up selfishness is the true meaning of sacrifice. What is the cause of selfishness? Ahankar, the ego. The great teachers of bhakti taught the best way to get rid of egoism and selfishness. That was to surrender oneself to the will of the Supreme Self or God. The very word sacrifice implies a certain amount of deprivation and suffering. In its first 6 chapters, especially in the 4th chapter of the Gita, Lord Krishna emphasizes on sacrifice. But in the next 6 chapters, the emphasis is more on self-surrender. However, the idea of giving is common to both sacrifice and self-surrender, and has always remained as a basic characteristic of worship. So much about sacrifice. The second important characteristic of worship is adoration. In Sanskrit it is called aradhana. There are three ways of adoration. Three. One is through rituals, doing pujas regularly in a systematic way. Secondly, stuti, praise. Thirdly, kirtan, singing. These are the three ways of adoration, which is one of the characteristics of worship. What is adoration? It is love plus reverence. Love plus reverence. Love becomes bhakti only when it is sublimated by the highest reverence for the Supreme Lord. Reverence, that's very important. You must guard that. You must watch yourself whether you are maintaining that reverence to God, whether you are maintaining that reverence to your Guru. You must watch it. Reverence comes from knowledge of God's transcendental nature and supernatural glories. That is Mahatmya Jnana. Mahatmya Jnana. It is this Mahatmya Jnana that distinguishes love for human beings from love for God. To take an example, probably you have read Lord Krishna's life story, which comes in Bhagavad. There the gopis are well known for their love and adoration to Lord Krishna. Even the illiterate gopis, whose love for Krishna is said to mark the acme of devotion, they were fully aware of their beloved Krishna's transcendental nature. They were completely aware of that fact. They did not look upon Lord Krishna as just a man. In Gopika Geetam, there is a verse where the cowherd women tell Sri Krishna, Nakhalu Gopika Nandano Bhavan Akila Dehina Mantaratmadrik. The gopis are telling Krishna, "Oh Krishna, you are not a mere son of milkmaid. You are the inner self and witness indwelling in all beings. Without this awareness of the divine nature of the Lord, their love for Him would be in no way better than that for a paramour." Narada Maharshi says in his Bhakti Sutra, Sutra number 23, he says, Tadvihinam jaranamiva. It means, if the gopis did not have that knowledge that Krishna was God, then their love would have been similar to the base passion of a mistress for her paramour. In the next sutra, Narada Maharshi says, Nastyeva tasmin tat sukha sukhitvam. It means, in lust, there is only the desire for one's own pleasure. One's happiness does not consist in making the beloved happy. The nature of love is divine. And it finds its fulfillment only when it is directed towards God. In divine love, there is complete forgetfulness of the body, complete effacement of selfishness, and complete absorption in the beloved. The one aim is to please the beloved. That means utter selflessness is the nature of this divine love. In Hinduism, adoration takes the form of chanting the names of the Lord. This is not vain repetition. For each name stands for a particular attributes of God. In fact, we have got several Sahasranamas of different gods and goddesses. 1,000 names of Lord. Lord Vishnu, Lord Shiva, Lord Ganesha, whomsoever you want, you have it. 1,000 names. They are a perfect device for compressing a vast account of divine attributes and glories in an amazingly small compass. Sankirtan, or group singing of divine names, has for its main purpose remembrance and adoration of the Lord. Everything is very useful. Do it willingly, do it wholeheartedly, then you will see the beauty of it. The third characteristic of worship is sacredness. One is sacrifice, second is adoration, third is sacredness. The third characteristic of worship. You have to understand all this clearly, then only worship gives you bliss. Then you will get the bliss of Brahman. Everything connected with worship is sacred. And worship itself imparts sanctity to the worshipper and the articles of worship. According to Hindu concept of sanctity, it has three aspects. One is Adi Bhautika. That is the physical aspect. It consists in cleaning everything connected with worship by the liberal application of water, accompanied by the chanting of mantras. Suppose you are vacuuming the chapel. It becomes worship when you are vacuuming the chapel by chanting the name of God. If you are vacuuming the chapel by talking with somebody, it is no more worship. Some of the secrets I am disclosing to you today. Use it properly. Whatever you do, let it become true worship of God. So, you have to repeat the mantra. Those who are initiated, certainly they can repeat the initiated mantra while they are cleaning the chapel, or when they are cleaning the vessels, or when they are cutting the fruits. Why do you talk unnecessarily while doing service? Talking is a distraction. It distracts the mind away from the service. When you are doing service of God, your whole mind must be centered around that act of service. You must never allow the mind to distract in any manner. That means you have to be watchful. So that is Adhibhautika. Cleaning everything connected with worship, all the time chanting the mantras. Sometimes those who have learned some hymns, they chant some hymns. Quite all right, perfectly all right. And some people who have learned Vedas can chant suktas. Wonderful. So it must be associated with spiritual thought, spiritual current. The second is Adhidevata. Every object and every organ in the body has a divine form or presiding deity. It's called Adhidevata. By invoking the deities of the bell, lamp, conch, flowers, water, etc., these articles get sanctified. This is the Adidaivika aspect of sacredness. Thirdly, the Adhyatmika or spiritual aspect of sacredness, it is associated with the doctrine that the Atman or real self of a person is eternally pure and self-luminous, and sin and impurity affect only the mind. A major part of worship is devoted to the symbolic purification of mind, so that the Atman may manifest itself in all its intrinsic luster and glory. So when you understand all these concepts clearly, then if you sit for worship, that leads you towards the fulfillment of your goal. With these words, I conclude my talk. We have finished the chapter 25, a long chapter. Of course, there were many points which I have discussed. The dialogue between Sri Ramakrishna and Pandit Shashadhar, very interesting chapter. Now we are reading chapter 26, Festival at Adhar's house. Sri Ramakrishna was sitting in his room in the temple garden at Dakshineshwar after his midday meal. A party of bowls from Shibpur, several devotees from Bhavanipur, Balram and M were in the room. Rakhal, Latu and Harish were then living with the master. They too were present. The master began the conversation by addressing the bowl musicians from Shibapur. Sri Ramakrishna said, "Yoga is not possible if the mind dwells on lust and gold. The mind of a worldly man generally moves among the three lower centers. Those at the navel, at the sexual organ, and at the organ of evacuation. After great effort and spiritual practice, the Kundalini is awakened. According to the yogis, there are three nerves in spiritual column, spinal column, Ida, Pingala, and Sushumna. Along the Sushumna, that is the central channel, there are 6 lotuses or centers, the lowest being known as Mooladhara. Then comes successively Swadhisthana, Manipura, Anahata, Vishuddha and Ajna. These are all different centers of consciousness. These are the 6 centers. The Kundalini, that's the power, the spiritual power, when awakened, passes through the lower centers and comes to the Anahata, which is at the heart. It stays there. At that time, the mind of the aspirant is withdrawn from the 3 lower centers. He feels the awakening of divine consciousness and sees light. In mute wonder, he sees that radiance and cries out, "What is this? What is this?" After passing through the 6 centers, the Kundalini reaches the 1,000-petaled lotus known as the Sahasrara. The aspirant goes into Samadhi. According to the Vedas, these centers are called Bhumi, planes. The center known as Vishuddha is the 5th plane. This center is at the throat and has a lotus with 16 petals. When the Kundalini reaches this plane, the devotee longs to talk and hear only about God. Conversation on worldly objects and worldly subjects, on lust and gold, causes him great pain. He leaves a place where people talk of these matters. Then comes the 6th plane corresponding to the center known as Ajna. This center is located between the eyebrows and it has a lotus with 2 petals. When the Kundalini reaches it, the aspirant sees the form of God. But still there remains a slight barrier between the devotee and God. It is like a light inside a lantern. You may think you have touched the light, but in reality you cannot because of the barrier of glass. And last of all is the 7th plane, which according to Tantra is the center of the 1,000-petaled lotus. When the Kundalini arrives there, this aspirant goes into Samadhi. In that lotus dwells Satchidananda Shiva, the Absolute. There Kundalini, the awakened power, unites with Shiva. This is known as the union of Shiva and Shakti. When the Kundalini rises to the Sahasrara and the mind goes into Samadhi, the aspirant loses all consciousness of the outer world. He can no longer retain his physical body. If milk is poured into his mouth, it runs out again. In that state, the life breath lingers for 21 days and then passes out. Entering the black waters of the ocean, the ship never comes back. But the Ishwar Kotis, such as the incarnations of God, can come down from this state of samadhi. They can descend from this exalted state because they like to live in the company of devotees and enjoy the love of God. God retains in them the ego of knowledge or the ego of devotion so that they may teach men. Their minds move between the sixth and the seventh planes. They run a boat race back and forth, as it were, between these two planes. After attaining samadhi, some souls of their own accord keep the ego of knowledge, but that ego does not create any attachment. It is like a line drawn on the water. Hanuman kept the servant ego after realizing God in both his personal and his impersonal aspects. He thought of himself as a servant of God. The great sages such as Narada, Sanaka, Sanandana, Sanatana and Sanat Kumara, after attaining the knowledge of Brahman, kept the servant ego and the ego of devotion. They are like big steamships which not only cross the ocean themselves but carry many passengers to the other shore. There are two classes of Paramahamsas, one affirming the formless reality and the other affirming God with form. Trailinga Swami believed in the formless reality. Paramahamsas like him care for their own good alone. They feel satisfied if they themselves attain the goal. But those Paramahamsas who believe in God with form keep the love of God even after attaining the knowledge of Brahman, so that they may teach spiritual truth to others. They are like a pitcher brimful of water. Part of the water may be poured into another pitcher. These perfected souls describe to others the various spiritual disciplines by which they have realized God. They do this only to teach others and to help them in spiritual life. With great effort, men dig a well for drinking water, using spades and baskets for the purpose. After the digging is over, some throw the spades and the other implements into the well, not needing them anymore. But some put them away near the well so that others may use them. Some eat mangoes secretly and remove all trace of them by wiping their mouths with a towel. But some share the fruit with others. They are sages who, even after attaining knowledge, work to help others and also to enjoy the bliss of God in the company of devotees. I want to eat sugar. I don't want to be sugar. The gopis of Vrindavan too attained the knowledge of Brahman, but they were not seeking it. They wanted to enjoy God, looking on themselves as his mother, his friend, his handmaid, or his lover. We shall stop here. So, questions, discussion, comments, observations, your choice now. In spiritual life, whatever you do is important. Whatever you do, how you do it is important. Then everything becomes useful. The spiritual life seems difficult because we don't follow the instructions carefully. We give reasons. Oh, I am like this, I am like that, I am like that. Big list of reasons. What is the use of reasons? The first lesson in spiritual life is stop giving reasons. That will solve many problems. What is the use of trying to give reasons and trying to convince? You have to convince yourself. So in spiritual life means how you do, in what way you do. So you have to watch yourself, how you are cherishing your pure love towards God. That's important. Everything becomes easy. Do it properly. Sometimes we may make mistakes. Who is free from mistakes? Tell me. As long as we are in this world, we are bound to make mistakes. There's nothing great. It's extremely natural. To make mistakes is extremely natural. But to correct it, correct them. Mistakes are done so that you can correct yourself and don't commit the mistakes again and again. Anyway, life is a continuous process. Spiritual achievement is possible only through spiritual discipline. Just a point. Yeah. My introduction to your questions is over. Now, Palashruti is given there in order to, it's a kind of incentive. Just like if I say sugar-coated pills. Children like sweet, If you directly give the pill, it may feel, it may reject it. Make it sweet and give, it takes it. It is just like that. Let the Palashruti be there. Do the whole thing, but give that phala also to God Himself. Oh Lord, you take yourself. I don't want, I want you. Then you will see the beauty of it. You become completely selfless. You evolve in a very fine manner. So, whatever you do in a selfless way, it helps you to unfold your spiritual potential. That's the point. As I said, Palashruti is there just to attract. At least by seeing that Palashruti is attracted to do some worship. In that process, he becomes close to God, and then a way is open to him to come nearer to God. That's the idea. It's all that as long as you are in the world, you aspire for worldly things and things. Of course, you pray God to give all such things. It's all right, you may get them, but that will not solve the problem. That's the point. There's no end that way. Whatever you ask for, whatever you get it, you are not satisfied. So the discontent that is always there. You are always discontented because you cannot be satisfied. You can't satisfy the senses. You can't satisfy your desires. That's the point. See, there are many devotees also, besides musicians. See, whenever Sri Ramakrishna would talk, he would talk about spiritual instructions. Musicians were there just for singing. And whoever the devotees are there, whatever standards, accordingly they would take his teachings. And invariably, Sri Ramakrishna would teach certain things when the people belonging to that particular mode of practice were there. So, there is a very possibility that some people who were practicing yoga were there. So Sri Ramakrishna was hinting what are these different yogas, and he is telling, pointing out Yogas are there. He's only telling everything is okay. But you follow what is best for you. That's the point. He tells, according to Vedas, it is explained in a different way. According to Kundalini, it is explained in a different way. According to Tantra, it is explained in a different way. So there are so many varieties of explanations. What Sri Ramakrishna is telling is, whatever path you choose, it's okay. Go ahead. That's the idea of his instruction. And many times he gives instructions in order to teach particular devotees who had gathered there. That's the idea. For example, when he was talking to Pandit Shashidhar, he was a good scholar, etc. So he wanted to show him the spiritual path, and he told him, enough of your scholarship. How long you spend your time like this? Your days are numbered now, you are already getting old. Why don't you do some little practice? So, do practice. Practice discipline. That's the way Sri Ramakrishna told Shashidhar. Practice discipline. Enough of your scholarship. It's all right, you had it, good. With that background, now you step into practice. If you don't practice it, your life goes away. Life goes away, it doesn't wait for you. That's the idea. That probably they may explain each petal with a color and each signifying some particular power, etc. But it is not described in the gospel. But there are some texts where they are all explained with diagram. In each petal, what is the Bijakshara mantra is written, what is the, how that power manifests, etc. All these things you can read some books dealing with that subject. Particularly the Woodruff, he has dealt with this subject very nicely. Kundalini, serpent power. There are lots of books on Kundalini yoga. Lots of books are there. So some say the green color, some say red color, some say white color. So many colors are there. Each one gives his own concept. Anyway, it's all right. They all give through their experience. They explain everything. That's all. No question. Chant the name of the Lord and His glory unceasingly, that the mirror of the heart may be wiped clean, and quench that mighty forest fire, worldly lust raging furiously within. O name, stream down in moonlight on the lotus heart, opening its cup to knowledge of thyself. O self, drowned deep in the waves of his bliss, tasting his nectar at every step, bathing in his name, that bath for weary souls. Various are thy names, O Lord, in each and every name thy power resides. No times are set, no rites are needful for chanting of thy name. So vast is thy mercy, how huge then is my assuredness, who find in this empty life and heart no devotion to thy name. O my mind, be humbler than a blade of grass. Be patient and forbearing like a tree. Take no honor to thyself, give honor to all. Chant unceasingly the name of the Lord. O Lord and soul of the universe, mine is no prayer for wealth or revenue, the playthings of lust or the toys of fame. As many times as I may be reborn, grant me, O Lord, a steadfast love for thee. A drowning man in this world's fearful ocean is thy servant, O sweet one. In thy mercy consider him as dust beneath thy feet. Oh, how I long for the day when an instant's separation from thee, O Lord, will be as 1,000 years, when my heart burns away with its desire, and the world without thee is a heartless void. Prostrate at thy feet, let me be in unwavering devotion. neither imploring the embrace of thine arms, nor bewailing the withdrawal of thy presence. Though it tears my soul asunder, O thou who stealest the hearts of thy devotees, do with me what thou wilt, for thou art my heart's beloved, thou and thou alone. O Lord, lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness to light, and lead us from death to immortality. May all be free from dangers, may all realize what is good, may all be actuated by noble thoughts, may all rejoice everywhere. May all be happy, may all be free from disease, may all realize what is good, may none be subject to misery. May the wicked become virtuous, may the virtuous attain tranquility, may the tranquil be free from bonds, may the freed make others free. May good betide all people, may the sovereign righteously rule the earth, may all beings ever attain what is good, may the worlds be prosperous and happy. May the clouds pour rain in time, may the earth be blessed with crops, may all countries be freed from calamity, may holy men live without fear. May the Lord, the destroyer of sins, the presiding deity of all sacred works, be satisfied. For he being pleased, the whole universe becomes pleased. He being satisfied, the whole universe feels satisfied.